So, hello everyone. We hope you're doing well. I'll introduce myself. My name is Neha Gupta and Catherine.
And my name is Catherine Mulcaster, and we are the co-founders of Dimensions Magazine.
Yeah, so today we're going to be hosting a really enriching conversation, and I will ask you to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Bhagyashree and I am the founder and editor-in-chief of Youth Magazine. I am also a high school junior from India and I'm a public speaker, writer, and illustrator as well. And lastly, I'm a teenager, just like you all, who is working to create my impact and trying to explore how to live life. So that's me. I am Bhagyashree. My full name is Bhagyashree Prabhu Tendolkar, and I like writing, reading, and youth engagement and youth empowerment in a nutshell. And it's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
It's so great to have you here. We're so excited to get to ask your questions and for you to share your ideas with anyone that wants to listen in and see how you've actually made such a large impact that you have been able to do at such a young age. So we have some questions for you, and I will ask Catherine to start us off.
Perfect. So, just hopping right in. So, we know that you're a very avid writer, and we wanted to know kind of how do you draw your inspiration for, your writing topics in general?
Okay, so writing is more of like a food for my soul. Writing is a form of expression which I use to express myself, vent out, as well as get that form of an escape from the real world. So, what do I do to get inspiration for my writing? I think it all comes from my childhood, my experiences, and my imagination. Mostly, it's like nature inspires me a lot. I just go out to have a walk in the garden and I see the clouds and the trees and the rains, and it inspires me to write something. But then I write like in two forms. I write poetry and prose, which is more of like containing a lot of imagery and creativity. But other than that, I also write on some pressing issues like mental health and youth empowerment. So when it comes to that, it's more of um, time sensitive topics and something like I feel all of a sudden that it needs to be spoken about, and I cannot wait to write on it and to voice these issues. So I write on this topic firstly, like research is very important before writing on anything important. So I research and then I write on it. And before I started Youth Magazine, I would generally write for student newspapers in my country. And so my articles would get published there, and I would also publish them via social media. And after that, as I founded Youth Magazine, my articles and my writings found a way of being published through Youth Magazine itself. So that is how my writings have been published. And in terms of getting inspiration for writing style and reading, um, I always look to Agatha Christie and Murakami a lot for reading books, not just like for writing style, but also for reading good books. So Murakami is like my all-time favorite, and Agatha Christie again an all-time favorite for some nice murder or mystery book, like murder mystery story. And I wouldn't hesitate to say that I'm a big Potterhead, and I have already read Harry Potter like more than 15 times, but it still doesn't fail to make me happy and just transport me into a totally different world and just get me a good night's sleep by reading Harry Potter. So yeah, that was about reading and writing. In terms of poetry, I think it's more of nature and like like that undying desire to write something on something that's really causing me a lot of happiness or a lot of distress. So it's like that.
Well, it's really good to hear that you're a Potterhead because I am a major Potterhead myself. I know that Catherine also really likes the series, but I can say for myself, like I'm a huge Potterhead as well. Like I've read the books so many times. I can, like we can quote like anything from the books. So it's good to know someone else out there is also a Potterhead too. In terms of like pieces of writing that you've been able to create, would you say that you have a favorite? And if so, could you explain more about its topic and why it's so important to you?
Okay, so like, are you speaking about like anything that I have written or anything that I have read before?
Anything that you've written, anything that you've been able to create.
Okay. So I think I need to think about it because through Youth Magazine, my work has been more through going through a lot of submissions and editing them rather than writing myself, or even though I've written something, it's more like my mind is puzzled with lots of submissions. So something that I have written, okay, it can be like poetry maybe. So in terms of articles, like there have been a lot of that have been published in newspapers. One has been quite game changing for me because that helped me to start Youth Magazine. It was about media and how it tries to filter our expressions. For example, if we are writing for any newspaper, if we are writing for any big public platform, the editors will generally try to filter what we have written according to what the audience needs to hear, or according to what is glamorous or what sounds good. So that is something like I didn't want that bias to be there in platforms, when especially when it comes to publishing. So that is what actually gave rise to starting Youth Magazine, to start an unbiased and unfiltered form of expression where we are able to voice our opinions from both sides of view. So that article, it had been okay, yeah, it had been published in, I think, Youth Magazine itself. So that is something that I had written, which I still remember. And when it comes to poetry, I remember one that I had written for my grandpa, which is like very close to me. That the poem is very close to me, like, because I had written after he had passed away. And I like, this is slightly funny, but when it comes to like making my closed ones feel very special, I write poetry for them. And that's like something which I'm very grateful for, because I have the knack of writing poetry at like any immediate hour to make my closed ones feel special, be it their birthday or just expressing gratitude, or expressing gratitude to, to anything and everything. So I think poetry is also like a form of expressing gratitude or making someone feel special. So I've written lots of these gratitude and making someone feel special type of poetry. So they are also like quite close to me.
That's wonderful. I think that's such a beautiful kind of way to put it, especially as it's something that, it's kind of a way for you to express gratitude, which I think is so beautiful. And yeah, that's wonderful. And also the other piece that you mentioned, I think sounds really interesting. And kind of segues into the next topic, which is what we were just wondering what drove you to start Youth Magazine and kind of what keeps you going.
Okay, that's such a wonderful question. So it was in the midst of August of 2020. There was this lockdown and the pandemic was going on, and there was a lot of disengagement from the outside world. And I felt that with lots of issues that were happening, like we as young people didn't have that platform or that unifying platform. I'm talking on a global scale, where we could express our opinions, educate ourselves about what is actually happening. Because most of us, we generally look up to social media, like rightly so or wrongly so. We generally look up to social media for getting the latest bits of information, be it on crises or current news, or be it politics. We generally look up to on social media. And I felt like then there had to be a platform where young people's voices were respected and appreciated and empowered. So it also like we run to like education, like these are the three ways of our working: education, advocacy, and action. So education, so how we educate people is through our social media, through our magazine. We put a post about global crisis, so now it is Mental Health Awareness Month. We have been running 5 campaigns for it. First one is Share Your Story campaign. So where we have created a Google form, an anonymous Google form, where anyone and everyone can share their mental health story, their journey, and how they're feeling, and we want to validate their feelings and to make not feeling okay quite okay. So we're also going to be sharing these responses by the end of May, of course, with their consent. And then other parts of our campaign has been putting up a Discord community, or like especially for our magazine as well as mental health, and starting an interview series called Better Now with mental health with other young mental health advocates, and a series of reels as well as actionable resources. So I started Youth Magazine with an aim of unifying young people, helping them find their voice and how to create their impact in this world and how to align their passions with impact, if that makes sense. So it all started with the publication, like just a magazine, and then it turned into a platform. I built the website and then I released the issue 1 of Youth Magazine myself, and then it grew into a team, and it grew it grew farther. And what keeps me going is my team and our readers and our community and my Youth Magazine family, as I call it. Because when someone just says that working at Youth Magazine made me feel happy about myself, it made me realize that I had a voice, and it brought together like many other young people who had a purpose, and it made them broaden their horizons and just to educate themselves. Because like people have been telling me that before they joined Youth Magazine, their Instagram stories contained TikToks and memes, but then after joining Youth Magazine, it contained crisis stories and mental health advocacy. So that's how like it has changed, and also how it has helped them to broaden their horizons themselves. So all of this, like this enthusiasm or this feeling inspired, feeling supported, it keeps me going. Because there are times, of course, being the founder, there are times when you feel like, oh, did I make the right decision in starting Youth Magazine, or like should I continue with it? Because sometimes you don't have that vision, or sometimes it gets all blurred and faded. But then this keeps you going, the impact that you create, be it like little or be it like big, it still keeps you going. It makes you feel like, oh, I'm doing something for this world.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. You know, seeing a problem and then trying to find that solution on your own, thinking that you can make that difference is something that's proved such a barrier for so many youth because it's so difficult to take that first step. And it's so great that you you sought to amplify youth voices and you stuck by your mission. And we're so happy that you stuck by your mission because Youth Magazine is now, it has such a global reach, and you publish articles from all over the world, and you allow youth to really explore and push the boundaries of their knowledge. And it's actually so interesting that you started your magazine at the same time that we started ours, and through the same circumstances, really through lockdown as well. Dimension started through lockdown, and we took on a different lens, a bit of a different lens than you did, which is so crazy to think that, from the same situation, you can take such different perspectives. We sought to amplify science in youth, seeing the importance of science through a pandemic. And it's so great that you sought to amplify youth voices through a time where you felt everyone was disconnected. So the next question is kind of latching onto a little bit of what you just mentioned, but what challenges would you say you faced, particularly when you started the organization and running Youth Magazine? And how do you think that you've been able to overcome these challenges, not only alone, but also together with your Youth Magazine family, as you put it so well?
Okay, so there are like lots of little challenges. The first one that I can put up is self-doubt, but then beginner's luck helps. Like if someone has read The Alchemist, then you know that what I mean by beginner's luck. So a lot of self-doubt, because when you start something, like you're very enthusiastic and you don't know what's actually coming. So I started Youth Magazine, and then when I was when I was publishing and designing and compiling and editing and promoting Youth Magazine all at the same time in the beginning, I didn't know what was coming. So I had to design everything myself. I had to compile things, I had to edit, I had to publish, and I didn't even know much about the technologies, and because one cannot know everything, right? Designing, editing, marketing. So like that was challenge. And then there was self-doubt, like, oh, did I start like in over enthusiasm? Did I do the right thing? And where is it gonna be? Because sometimes you get like intimidated by the amount of platforms that are there on social media which are similar to yours, and you're afraid that how you're going to create your niche, how you're going to make your platform unique. So it's like very recently that we have found like what is it that we want to publish, what is our theme, what is our feed design like, and what is it, what our content should be actually, what our content should actually be like. So a lot of self-doubt actually, but then looking back, I think what helped me pull through was believing in myself that now that I've started it, I have to go through it anyhow. And also like something that helped me was just give your best and don't worry about the results, because I didn't start Youth Magazine with an aim that, oh, I'm going to have like 4,000 readers from 51 plus countries, or I'm going to have 46 team members in like after 8 months. I didn't have anything that in my mind. I didn't even know that this was going to turn into a platform. At that time, like while starting Youth Magazine, I had no idea, or like I had little knowledge about graphic designing, and I had no idea that after 8 months I'm going to have a team of graphic designers who have like lot of knowledge, lots and lots of knowledge about graphic design than I do, and that we are going to shift our platforms and we are going to do this and that. So it's like giving your best and not worrying about result at all helped me pull through that fear of failure actually. And the other few challenges that came to was managing studies and extracurriculars with maxi. Like that's all that happens being a student, a high school junior. So but I try to find a way, because magazine is something that gives me and it always gave me a lot of happiness. So it's more like fun activity, and sometimes I have to like control myself to not give a lot of time to magazine and just completely ignoring my studies. So that's something that I still struggle with. So yeah. And thirdly, what like another challenge that came through, it's more of like a learning experience that comes through while being a leader. So being a leader, it's like real growth happens when you delegate tasks to your team members, and when you realize that you cannot do it all alone, and other people can have ideas which are amazing in themselves, and you just need to give people the push and the chance to express themselves, express their ideas, and just give them the chance to execute those ideas. And that we need to trust our team members, because that's something that, because start I know that being the founder of a magazine, there's like a little bit of that not possessiveness, but that extra love for your platform, that, oh, how is it going to be when others are also handling my magazine? So it took quite a lot of time to actually delegate tasks to my team members to handle our social media, to handle like a few of the executive tasks that comes with the magazine. But then I realized that when we do it together, the actual result gets a lot better, because looking back, I feel that if I hadn't delegated tasks to my team members, if I hadn't expanded it into a team, or if I had kept everything to just myself, then our growth would have been very contracted. So these are the three things that, like, challenges or the things that I learned actually along the way.
That's amazing. I think that you have some really good insight and really good advice. I'm really impressed on how you kind of described everything and then also had a really good explanation. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I can honestly feel like your excitement and your love for the magazine like radiating off of you. It honestly makes me so happy in turn. Like it's amazing. um, and yeah, I mean, so our next question, I guess, is what advice would you give to aspiring writers and youth in the community who'd want to start a movement like Youth Magazine but don't really know where to start?
Okay, so my first advice would be, it's okay to not know everything, because while starting Youth Magazine, I had known nothing actually. To put it like literally, it's all like I experimented, because I didn't know how to design a website. I didn't know how to create a website, but I experimented for 3-4 days and it happened. And it is okay to not know everything. It is okay to not have like a concrete, full-fledged plan, because things will develop over time. You don't need to have everything ready in your mind when you start, because you can develop, you can progress, you can make changes anytime once you start. So the first advice that I would give is, it's okay to not know everything. Don't get intimidated by oblivion. Like, that's the biggest thing that scares me personally. And secondly, believe in yourself. That's like the best thing that you can do. Even though even though no one believes in you, literally no one believes in you, you already have, like, I read this quote somewhere, I was reading something, even though no one is there with you or there by your side, you already have one person with you, and that is God. Like, you already have someone with you, and that is God, and you yourself. So that's already two by a majority. So believe in yourself. I remember having this idea for magazine all at midnight while I was sleeping. Like, magazine, I mean, like a literal magazine cover. I had it like while sleeping. Next day, I just woke up and I took my own photo and I added a logo above my photo, and I added a headline and a subtitle. And that's like the weirdest and the craziest thing I did. Like, that was how amazed sure I was. But that's like the best thing I could do to start a magazine, to see how I could create a cover of magazine. Because magazine, like, when someone thinks of a magazine, we always think of the beautiful glamorous cover, the front cover of a magazine. So that is like the silliest but the dearest thing that I could do before starting my magazine. And then it developed into writing like little things in a scratchbook, all of the little ideas that I had about how do I start, where do I get started, and watching tutorials about website building on YouTube, and then actually building a website, then promoting things on WhatsApp, like WhatsApp really. So promoting things on WhatsApp, and then starting a social media platform, learning from my mistakes, making mistakes, learning from them, growing from them. And that is how it all started. And believe in yourself, be okay with oblivion, because you can never know everything really. And lastly, just get going. Just click on start and don't procrastinate. That's like the biggest enemy you can ever have. I remember, like, I am procrastinating a lot with publishing my own book. Like, it's been a year and I'm not published because it's like the fear. And don't procrastinate. I remember starting my magazine all like without thinking about the fear of failure. Although that fear came after starting it, which I'm very grateful for, because if I had doubted myself before starting the magazine, I would have never been able to start it at all. So these are the three things that I could, like, tips that I would give to anyone who wants to start anything really, be it magazine, platform, organization, blog, writing website, or even writing your own book, anything really.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank you for being here today, because that kind of wraps up all our questions. You gave really insightful answers. And yeah, I think on behalf of Dimensions Magazine, we just want to thank you so much. And we'd love to collaborate with you in the future. And I'm just going to turn it over to Neha just to close it off a little bit more.
Yeah. Bhagyashree, that was absolutely amazing. I love how you have this like personal connection with writing, and there's a motivation behind everything that you've been able to do. And that is what, is so difficult to mobilize in today's youth as well. And given this pandemic, it just makes everything seem more sectioned together. It doesn't help in terms of cohesiveness. So movements like these that are online, that are accessible to everyone, allows for different people, like a global community, to collaborate and come together to work towards one goal that you luckily were able to start. And it's amazing what you've been able to build. And it's so great that you now know that you're not on your own, and that you've been able to, inspire other people to broaden their understanding of the world. And it's great that movements like these are, having an impact. So with that, I think we can close off this interview. Thank you to our viewers for watching, and thank you so much, Bhagyashree, for being with us and, giving us your insight, exactly what Catherine said. And yeah, we'd love to collaborate again. Thank you so much, everyone, and we hope you have a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy. Great.